Welcome to the City Center Podcast. I'm Jerry Marcello. It's impossible to live in West Palm Beach without hearing about the Norton Museum of Art. This landmark has a long history as a cultural pillar to our community, and today we're going to learn how this hub of creativity gives back to the city in amazing ways. That's coming up on the City Center Podcast next. And joining me today is Ghislain Demer, Director and CEO of the Norton Museum of Art. Ghislain, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jerry. How are you?
Excellent. Great to have you here. Listen, one of the things that is very clear is everybody who is a resident of West Palm Beach, sooner or later, has someone walk up and say, oh, you've got to go to the Norton. A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to go there. So let's sort of rewind here and let's talk about some basics. How did the Norton come to be, and how did it grow into the landmark that it's become?
Well, thank you for that question. So because it's 85 years ago, I may take a few minutes to really go back down the history, but bear with me with that one.
Sure.
So West Palm Beach, in the 30s, 40s, was a kind of a small city. It was, I think, like 30,000 people. And it was mostly, the residents were mostly the help of the people who were living on the island, And so there were a committee, there were a city hall and so on. So the story started with Mr. Norton, who is from Chicago, a wealthy person, but not like over the top, but spending the winter, in Palm Beach, like many people on the time and still. And he was a very interesting person. He was in a business of steel and aluminum. He was an industrial, no real background in art. So like many people wealthy of the period, he started collecting old master painting, which are painting from the 14th to the 18th century, traditional. But then one day, he kind of got interested in contemporary art because he bought a piece of art to put above his sofa, and there were a tree. It was an impressionist painting. The tree was pink. He got annoyed. He said, why do you do pink tree? That's not normal. It should be green. He wrote to the artist. The artist replied. And suddenly, Mr. Norton was really interested in the concept of creativity. And it's important what I'm telling you because we're talking 85 years ago.
Right.
And you're going to see the word creativity is coming on and on in what I'm going to say. Anyway, he bought a second piece, was doing the writing with the artist, and bought many pieces of contemporary art of his time. This collection is what we call the modern collection at the Norton. It's like from 1910 to 1960, and it's really one of the best in the country, including Picasso and Monet and Renoir and Gauguin. I mean, name it, we have them all, except Van Gogh, but we have a lot. So fast forward, toward the 1940s, he said, okay, what am I going to do with my collection? So the Chicago Art Institute, which is a fabulous museum, asked for the collection. And he said, no, you have enough. And in fact, there were talk about the faux art on the island saying, well, we should do something. And he said, well, no, you have enough or so. You don't need it. And he said, where could I make a difference? And he came and he went to talk to the mayor of the time in West Palm Beach. I say, what about doing something here? The city of West Palm Beach gave him the land where we are currently. And Mr. Norton, with his own money, paid to build the original building, which is still existing, the 1941 building, beautiful Art Deco building, gave 450 pieces of art, and created for free a school of art where people could come to draw, paint, and sculpt, looking at the art of his collection and sculpting, created a non-for-profit, an endowment, and a board, and opened in 1941. That's been 85 years ago. And since we've been technically first one of the oldest museum of Florida, but de facto now one of the most established museum because of the collection of old master painting and modern art. We continue collecting photography, Asian art, and contemporary art. And that was the story up to the 2000, 2010. So the museum has been growing, doing some nice exhibition, getting gifts and so on. But then the big change, the big next step was 2010 when a trustee of the Norton, who sadly passed away a few months ago, Gil was a visionary from New York. He was the president of the Earth Foundation, and he really felt that Florida was really booming and things need to be done for the Norton. The Norton needed to be prepared for the next step. And he got the trustees together, including another donor called Leonard Lauder, who just passed away, also was in New York, and a group of trustees. And they say, we need to do something. We need to really bring the museum to the next step because the community in Florida, West Palm Beach, the county, and then the whole state of Florida, in the next 10 years are going to need something better, bigger, the best of the best. And they agree on that. And he say, I know the architect is Norman Foster. So you have to put, Jerry, the context is Norman Foster always been, one of the most famous architects, but in the last 20 years, is really the best one in the world. The most established one is 92 years old. He's an amazing visionary, an amazing architect. And they managed to get him to agree. And in 2013, they did a site plan, a master plan for the whole progression of the museum. And they raised the money and they opened in 2019 that beautiful building you see currently on Dixie. It was very interesting because Norman Foster kept the original building of Mr. Norton without changing anything of the style of Art Deco to have the intimate experience with the art.
Sure.
But they restored everything. And then they turn and do the public face of the building on Dixie, the way you see with the beautiful Cleese Oldenburg sculpture. And that's mean the people and the public could come to that part of the museum for free. You have the restaurant, the store, you have the grand hall and the auditorium. And they, in fact, applied that to the original building. But what is very important is Norman Foster really moved the entrance, who used to be on the east toward the island, then to the south, that kind of ugly parking who used to exist, which, by the way, that ugly parking now is the beautiful park. We have garden with all the sculpture. But he moved the entrance to the west. Why? Because the mission of the Norton started with Mr. Norton in 1941, is for the community, specifically the underprivileged community, but the community at large. And Norman Foster turned the entrance to the west. And he make us looking to where the community need us. And so we aroused that connection between the island and the west side of the country. Yeah. So it's a long answer to your question, but that gentleman had the possibility to do anything with the collection. He could have sell it in auction and so on. He decided to make a difference. There were no museum in Florida of any consequences on the time. And now you have a really worldwide collection, a worldwide building with Norman Foster, and some exciting exhibition we're going to talk about. Sure. But that gave you the background of the whole story.
A very long and detailed, but inspiring. I think the one part of the story that really resonates for me is Mr. Norton says, what can I do with this collection that would make a difference?
What could be a difference? What could be transformative? It's a word I love, the word transformative, because you could be transformative on a small scale and a big scale. In his case, it was a major scale.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he realized how transformative it will be, but I could tell you 85 years after, it's unbelievable. And this city will never have that unbelievable asset, which is now known nationally and sometimes even more internationally. If that gentleman in the 1940s would have not thought, where could I make a difference?
How can you make a difference? And he clearly had a desire to give back to the community here in West Palm Beach.
And he was not from here.
That's right. And so instead of it being simply an extension of the culture that was developing on Palm Beach, he nodded to Palm Beach, but of course recognized that he had an entire community here in West Palm Beach that could benefit from the inspiration, the beauty of the art that was there. And it's wonderful to see how it continued to grow through the decades, and people beyond Mr. Norton continue to contribute.
Yes.
To that.
It's giving back to the society, but you could hear I'm from Europe with my accent. And in Europe, most of the culture is paid by government, by the state. In the US, there's never been a Ministry of Culture, in a way, philanthropy starting 200 years ago, where people were successful, they want to give back.
Right.
So usually they give back to their alma mater, university, or to their own town. In the case of Mr. Norton, he loved this place here, even if he was from Chicago, and he saw the need in Florida in general, and therefore West Palm Beach, to do something. And the transformation and that gift was amazing.
You touched on this during the history, that part of the goal was to create a hub of creativity for West Palm Beach. Let's talk about that. What is the goal of creating a hub, and what is it supposed to do?
Okay, well, here I'm going to be a little bit on my field. As a museum director, I've been more than 20 years, 5 different museums around the country. The word museum is a very 19th century. It's a Latin name, by the way. I wish it could be a better definition. We have not found a different word. But so what I define a museum is a hub of creativity, a place, a safe place for difficult conversation, a place where you could have a dialogue between generations about art from around the world. And bear with me again, I'm an historian, by the way. If you go around the country, and I live in Kentucky, Oklahoma, Virginia, Texas, and California, Chicago, by the way, and New York, everywhere around the country, the flyover state is the same story. One local family decide to do something for their local town, build a Beaux-Arts building, make it open to the community, and really become a place where it's a safe place for dialogue between generations. We are not a university, we are not a church, we don't have necessarily an agenda, but we're here to make sure that that dialogue between generations about culture from around the world could happen. And it's really vital. And you could see that around most of the city around the country, mid-size to bigger size, but not the huge city, but the museum become really the center and the hub of creativity. Number two, hub of creativity is not only about visual art. I really believe the museum could be an umbrella organization for performing art, which are music, dance, ballet, creative writing, improvisation, whatever, and also virtual art. So the museum is a structure where all of these could come. We are not a community center, but we're definitely a center for the community based on creativity. So I speak about art, but I speak much more about education and creativity, because remember also, we are teaching, we are really sharing, we're working a lot with a non-for-profit organization around town. We're working with 75 Title I schools and so on. My team in education, in the Department of Learning and Community Engagement, 50% of the time they're inside, 50% of the time they're outside, because our mission is to reach out to the community, to share that power of creativity through the arts, through the talks, through expression of dance and music, and getting them back to the museum. So it's really a vital part of a community.
Fantastic. Now you mentioned that there's an outreach program that you mentioned.
Yep.
And how do members of the community get in contact with that?
So, well, first of all, we have a website, of
Right.
course, so where you could find a lot of information about the programming and so on. So to answer your question, if you go on the website, you see what's happening inside the museum. So which are exhibition, program, art after dark, jazz, brunch, and so on. But also we have many classroom program in classroom, art making, program for people on the spectrum, and so on and so forth. All of that there. And also outside, we have a department at the Norton called CAP, Community Access Program, a wonderful young lady called Shannon and her team. And their job is to network with many of the non-for-profit organizations dealing specifically with underprivileged community, going from kids to senior citizens. We have now 28 partnerships. We're getting there more, and we're going, working with them, doing program with them, giving them access to the museum back and forward. We also have a program called Art After Hours for school, where we have on-staff pay artists who are teacher, and we send them to these centers, community centers, and so on, to teach art. Why? Because until that school Mr. Norton created 85 years ago was closed in the 80s. My dream is to reopen it one day, but we're not there yet. So as we close that, it was, again, 40 years ago, we created a program internally to continue at least to outreach. So these artists are teachers, paid by us, and they go into organization, school, and so on.
That's wonderful. The idea that
For free, by the way.
that is amazing. That instead of it would have made sense with the facilities and the resources you have there on site, that you would be open and welcoming to having people join you there at the museum. The idea and notion that you're reaching back out to the community, going to where those people are, that's fantastic.
Well, there's two things I want to add to that. Number one, because there's also some part of the committee who don't even have the means to take a bus, or cannot even physically have a bus to come to the Norton. So we have to go to them. Number two, there's one good thing, if I dare to say, from COVID. During COVID, we created a kind of a nice kind of a computer with screen and so on, and we were able to teach on Zoom through hundreds and hundreds of people. After COVID, we kept that program, and for many organizations, specifically senior citizens who cannot have the mobility to come, we are teaching, we are doing program with them where we have a curator in front of a fabulous Picasso painting with the camera.
That's
that curator talked to 300 or 400 people at the same time, and they could ask questions. So we are also doing through virtual communication, sharing for people who will not have the physical capacity or sometimes financial to come.
Sure.
And we do also that with many schools outside of the county or the district, where it's sometimes too far away from them, but we could share with them because we have the art where there's no other museum in a county or even the state of Florida who has the collection we have. So I'm proud of it, but
Yeah.
we have a duty, and the duty is to really share about it. And the technology is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I love technology because it's at least one way to restart a conversation.
The idea that the notion that you're able to use the unfortunate
Yeah,
stopgap that we had to use during the pandemic to continue beyond the pandemic to share and to
right.
educate and to reach out to people who otherwise would not be exposed
Yeah.
to what you have to offer. That's fantastic.
Well, that kind of traveling not robot, but camera with thing. Now we have three of them because it's becoming, and we could do more and more school and people outreach. I mean, it's in thousands of people now we're reaching through that technology.
Sure.
Maybe only a third of them will one day come. That's not the point. The point is to really show them how to you look at work of art, how to learn about it, and themselves could also start doing things in their nursing home or housing authority. They could start doing program because they have seen that curator, that docent talking about it.
That's fantastic. And of course, again, we will find a way to share the information as far as people getting in contact with you
Sure.
to take advantage of that, to learn more about what's available and how they can participate in these outreach programs.
Absolutely.
All right. So you have someone who has come to visit the Norton. They've walked through the doors. They're beginning their first exposure to all that's there. What is the goal? What do you want those people to say when they walk back out the door?
Oh, first thing is I will be back. I'm not Schwarzenegger here, but so I'll be back. But seriously, yes, because I want, especially for people who are first comer ever, they always feel sometimes that museum they don't belong. So making them to belong is making them taking ownership. Taking ownership is we need to be relevant. It's not them to adapt; it's us to adapt to the relevance. Relevance means a lot. It means everything and nothing. So it's up to us with the permanent collection to make it accessible, and to the exhibition, which are temporary exhibition, to really make sure that when we do an exhibition and the program around it, we make it relevant, because we may have people. Well, right now, as you know, we have the Rembrandt Vermeer exhibition, which is unbelievable. The number of people in the last 3 weeks who are first-time comer never have. I mean, it's really very exciting. So as they come, I want them to say, okay, it was a great experience. I need to come back. I need to really take ownership to that institution. The permanent collection is help also that fact, because we have a beautiful collection and more people are giving art to us, which are really beautiful. And that's also for the community in West Palm Beach and the county, is to be proud about having that place where you could go with your family, when you could go back with tourism and so on. But we want to make sure the experience is, this is also, we work a lot with our visitor experience staff, which are the front desk. The first people a visitor see are our security guard and our front desk. And they really get great training and so on to be as welcoming, as really nice as possible. And we're making sure that whoever the person visiting, whatever the social economical background and so on, they will feel that they're respected and also welcome like anyone will be, and then having a good experience with temporary exhibition or permanent collection or music or the garden or so on and so forth.
So
Because it's not for one-time thing, we're here for the community. So the community need to take ownership. But if we don't make it easy for them to do it, well, we're missing the point. So
Exactly.
we're working on that.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea again is for folks to come there, see a welcoming environment, not to be intimidated, but to feel like they're stepping into a place where they have the comfort of learning and asking questions and experiencing art in a way that they might have not have been able to in the first place.
It's really a place where you could have a dialogue again between generations. Think about it. If you are here with your kids or your grandkids or so on, where do you go? You could have really talk. If you go to a baseball game, a movie theater, a concert, you cannot talk. The only two places you could do that is a stroll in a park, you go walking and you could chat, or a museum. You could have a dialogue with your friend, your girlfriend, your kid, and so on. You are suddenly in a surrounding where there's a dialogue possible, a contact, a learning, an exchange. So there's not too many things in the structure of a community where dialogue is possible. Otherwise, most of the other entertainment you are there and you enjoy the entertainment, but you cannot talk during concert or movie.
Right.
The museum is that place for that dialogue, and that's very important. And it's a safe place for conversation, which is also important.
Extremely important, especially nowadays. One of the things that I wanted to touch on is there is a trend towards perhaps people looking at art as more of a luxury rather than something essential to life and to
Mhm.
culture. Um, how do you deal with that with folks who maybe think that it's something that's sort of an extra that isn't that important? What would you say to
Sure.
folks like that?
Well, I've got that question very often when I do, I have to do fundraising and I have to go to, because as you know, we are completely privately funded and things like that. We have a little bit of support of public money. But what it is, yes, if someone tell me, well, it's more important to have food and water in your plate than art, I will agree. I mean, I will agree. After that, you say, well, it's more important potentially to have that than education. I will start to say, I don't disagree, but we are very important there because when you look at the work of art, when you do a class, make an art class and so on, you really stimulate your creativity, which become part of your education, part of yourself. So I want to say, after technically food, drink, and potentially medical and health, we're next.
Right.
We are next. So, but yes, I will not argue that we're more important than really being alive and breathing.
Indeed.
But in the concept of education, as important as mathematics and English, art, which is more again creativity, stimulation of your brain, we are absolutely at that level.
Fantastic.
So you have, when people think about mathematics and English and so on, and they put the art on the side, it's been proven now. I don't have to pitch for that. Kids who are really involved with the art, creativity, and so on are better at school than the one who don't do it.
So
So
it's important.
yeah,
It isn't
yeah.
something that's just,
So it's not a luxury.
it's not a luxury, it's essential
It's
to,
essential. It's a necessity, and it's a minimum a society which is developed should be doing.
exactly. So we talked a little bit about how you've been working very hard to make sure that people are aware of all the good things that you have at the Norton. And we're talking about the residents here of West Palm Beach. There are some certain opportunities that folks specifically to West Palm Beach have as far as visiting the Norton. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I mean, the West Palm Beach residents are free on the Saturday for sure. In fact, in the summer, in fact, it goes to the county. So, and there's a lot of there's 4 days a year which are community days where we got close to now 1,500 people and so on. So the Chinese Lunar Year, you have the Nuestra Cultura, you have Juneteenth, and you have art from around the world. That's
Yeah.
4 kind of day which is really open to the community, and they really take ownership. And then we participate with many other organizations. We go to fairs and park activities and so on. So we are really also really out into the community.
Yeah, and so it's to the advantage of everyone here in West Palm Beach and the surrounding communities to take advantage of the open door that you
Sure.
have at Norton and really expose themselves to what you have there and experience the resources.
And when you talk about that, I mean, currently, right now, I was mentioning to you, we have that unbelievable Rembrandt Vermeer exhibition, first time in Florida ever.
Wow.
The last Vermeer in private hand and so on. So that collection is really unique, never been exhibited in any museum in the US, only in Europe. So it was at the Louvre, in China, in Russia, in Africa, in Emirates, and so on. But in the meantime, we're going to open next week 2 contemporary exhibitions. Anastasia Samolova, a great photographer, Shara Yu. And then we have a Chinese curator who had a great exhibition on Chinese art also, but soon opening a Japanese print exhibition. We had a curator of modern art doing a great exhibition currently of print and from the 19th century about, virtue and vice. 5 exhibitions at the same time. So you could come and you could really find different kind of aspects, plus the permanent collection. And we try to really keep that program pretty. In the spring, we're going to have a living artist called Daniel McKinney, who is going to be there. In the summer, we're going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the US. So we're always on the beat, and we program exhibition 2 or 3 years in advance. So we already work on all of that.
I was going to bring up what you had in store, and you've done a great job of already just touching on all the cool stuff that's going on during the winter, during the high season, and then pushing into next year. I'm excited to see what y'all are going to do with the 250th anniversary for the United States.
So it's maybe not necessarily going to be a huge exhibition because we have so much to do, but every department will celebrate in one way their connection with the independence of the country and the creation of the country. There will be a lot of program around. But funny, if you just say a word here, will always not bug me, but since I arrived here 5 years ago, yes, people speak about season, but I disagree with the concept of season. The season is for Palm Beach. West Palm Beach people are full-time here. And that reason in the summer, 4 years ago, we started summer at the Norton. And now it's been 5 years, and we have a huge amount of people who are taking ownership of the Norton during the summer. You have a lot of living family. Many people who even moved during COVID but lives here. You have kids and senior citizens and so on. So the season is maybe for a category in Palm Beach, but most of the community is here full season. We are full season.
I love that perspective. That's fantastic that you share that.
Well, you said the word season. I said, oh.
I brought up season. I did. Well, it's a part of the DNA of the area.
It is changing. In the last 5 years, since COVID, it's changing. A lot of people move here to have a full-time life here, which is very exciting. Yeah.
You have a very exciting present, and you've done a fantastic job of telling us about the past. Let's talk a little bit about the future. Where in your vision do you see the Norton going?
Well, there's a lot of things going on. It's not so much about us. It's us really paying attention to what's going on around us.
Yeah.
And you guys at the city all know that better. Look around. How many buildings have been built in the last 5 years? How many people are moving in town for business reason, for family reason, and so on. So we need to be ready for that. So the Norton is in good shape. We have sound institution. We do a lot of program, but we need to think about the future. Norman Foster, the architect, has kind of a long vision and so on, the master plan. So I don't necessarily know where there, but on the programming, on the financial stability of the institution, on the hiring of talent, of attracting talent, I'm thinking about we're going to have more and more people in the community, so we need to be ready for that. So I'm really wanted to make sure that the institution was stable, financially sound, good staff, great team, and attracting great team and gift and so on, attracting great exhibition, which really make us ready for the future. But look around. I mean, it's unbelievable the number. I mean, around the Norton, there's 3 buildings been building, growing, like in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So, which is great for us because it's new members, new people. It's good for the city, economic.
Yes.
I mean, I'm saying it's no secret. I said we heard about Vanderbilt University, Cleveland Clinic, all of these things. Music to my ear because there's more people coming and taking advantage of what we do.
As the city continues to grow and mature, the Norton is wonderfully positioned to be an integral part of that growth and to be the landmark that it is today. It will be even more important as you guys move into the future.
Absolutely. And what I like with the building we have is flexible to be welcoming, accommodable, and so on. And it's a beautiful building. And we have now more people really interested to support, which is really wonderful for us. And it's a fun place to be. I could tell you on a Friday night, Art After Dark, now we have more or less 800 to 1,200 people every Friday night. The first Friday is always jazz, so people love jazz, which is great. We even now do a jazz brunch because people are asking for more. That's really really exciting. They really take ownership of the place, which what we want. Otherwise, what's the point to have a building if it's empty?
Right.
So
right, there you have it. And what we're going to be doing as we're speaking here on screen, we're going to show the appropriate web addresses to get information about all that's happening at the Norton and contact information so that groups who would like to reach out and get you guys involved in what they're doing will have an opportunity to begin a conversation with you. And that's fantastic that you make that available. One of the things I want to do, Ghislain, is I always like to give the folks an opportunity here at this point to take hold of the microphone. You have an audience of people here in West Palm Beach who are listening to you. What is the message most important that you'd like to share with the folks at home who are listening in today?
Well, thank you. I really appreciate. Like I was saying, I really hope the more we could really listen to the committee is to be relevant for the committee, to make sure that the committee will feel comfortable and feel at home and take ownership of the Norton. So that's I would say, please come, enjoy, bring your friend if you have a great experience. By the way, if you don't have a great experience, give your feedback, because how do you want me or us to know? Also, I want to say the support from the elected community, from the mayor, the commissioner, and the committee have been really really wonderful for the Norton, but again, we need the committee to take ownership, and that ownership our team, is trying the best to really make it the best experience as possible. And I'm very excited. I have to say the second thing is that exhibition on Rembrandt is here until March. It will never happen again. Oh, never happen again, but it will not necessarily happen again in Florida. You really need to come to see that because he's one of the best painters in the history of mankind. And so it's an amazing opportunity for the committee to see the best of the best.
Absolutely.
And the committee deserves the best of the best.
Indeed. Ghislain, thank you for
You're
taking the
welcome.
time to visit us today. And thank you to you and your staff at the Norton for providing such an amazing resource for the city of West Palm Beach. And I'm looking forward to folks coming out and visiting you guys in droves.
Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. The City Center podcast is into its second full year of video podcasts, and we've got a lot in store for 2026. So feel free to follow or subscribe to get the latest from the City of West Palm Beach. This has been a production of the City of West Palm Beach Communications Department. I'm Jerry Marcello. We'll see you next time.